Good day, class. Last module discussion, we have learned all about human population. Additionally, in the past modules, it was mentioned that there are existing environmental issues that we are facing in the world today. So this time, um, you will learn about these environmental problems, specifically about waste and pollution. So, through the 19th century class, water and air pollution and the accumulation of solid waste were largely problems of congested urban areas. No? With the rapid spread of industrialization and the growth of human population to unprecedented levels, pollution became a universal problem. So, what is this pollution? No? So, pollution refers to the changes in physical and chemical properties and the biological characteristics which is detrimental to various bodies of water, land, and air. So, the question is what causes pollution to occur? No? So, this is by the contamination of the environment with the presence of pollutants. This is any matter or energy which produces harmful effects resulting to pollution. So common pollutants that affect the environment are heavy metals, gases, oil, sewage, noise, heat, radiation, and pesticides. So pollutants class, no, like chemicals, can accumulate within the tissue of living organisms and eventually are magnified. This phenomenon is termed as biological magnification. So when we say biological magnification, it refers to the gradual increase in concentration or accumulation of chemicals. At the same time, they move along the food chains towards the members of higher tropical levels. Along with the biomagnification, as mentioned in the previous slide, toxic substances are also transferred towards the higher tropic levels, and this is called tropic transfer. So, for example, in the picture shown, DDT or dichlorodiphenyl trichloroethane is a type of insecticide which is used to control mosquitoes. It then gradually becomes concentrated in the tissues of organisms representing four successive tropic levels in a food chain. So, the process of concentration measured in ppm or in parts per million goes right on up the food chain from one tropic level to the next. There is also abundant evidence that some carnivores at the ends of longer food chain such as ospreys, pelicans, falcons, and eagles suffered serious declines in fecundity and hence in population size. This is because of this phenomenon in the years before use of DDT was banned in 1972 in the United States. Now, there are major kinds of pollution, and these are classified as water, air, and soil pollution. So, let us first discuss water pollution. So, when we say water pollution, it refers to the substances added to water bodies, and this may be chemicals or heat reaching a particular level, which is unfavorable for living organisms such as humans, animals, and aquatic organisms. So, water pollution can significantly inhibit the normal activities of various living communities. Okay? Um, it is also refers to different aquatic contamination such as enrichment of nutrients from excessive application of fertilizers that cause eutrophication, and toxic chemicals that are introduced to an extent which are detrimental to aquatic life. Okay? So, what causes water pollution to happen, class? So, these are several causes. First are domestic waste, no? These include waste coming from the houses and different commercial establishments. These waste usually contain nitrates and phosphates that are usually responsible for eutrophication. Okay? Domestic waste also carry pathogens and other harmful bacteria which can cause serious problems leading to diseases. Now, another cause of water pollution are industrial waste. Industries can also be considered as a major source of water pollution. Considerable numbers of factories are known to release effluents to different bodies of water without being adequately treated. So in this way, industrial chemical waste discharge can accumulate within the living tissues of aquatic organisms living in those areas. Lastly, we have agricultural waste, such as fertilizers, farm animal waste, and sediments which contribute to the pollution of water. So this waste can move to adjacent water bodies, especially after raining, as they are carried away by water runoff. So in recent years, as the prices of fertilizers and pesticides became cheap, it paved the way for the excessive application of farmers. These waste contain nitrates and phosphates and can cause enrichment of nutrients leading to eutrophication. So in the previous slides, you have learned that the causes mentioned may lead to the pollution of water and eutrophication as well. So now the question is, what is eutrophication, class? So when we say eutrophication, this refers to the phenomenon in which enrichment of nutrients such as the nitrates and phosphates from waste lead to the increase of algal population. When nutrients increases, these are then consumed by the algae. Now, why the increase in algae population leads to eutrophication? So it's because when these algae die, decomposers break it down by pulling the oxygen out of the water. And the bacteria and fungi present in a water body consume enormous amounts of dissolved oxygen by degrading organic waste coming from different domestic sources. So lesser dissolved oxygen in different water bodies such as lakes and rivers may then lead to fish kill and death of another aquatic organisms. So pollution of water is also responsible for numerous waterborne infectious diseases, such as cholera and typhoid. Nitrates present in drinking water are known to cause methemoglobinemia in babies as well, in which it is a blood disorder in which too little oxygen is delivered to your cells in our cells. Next type of pollution is air pollution, which resulted from the release of air pollutants coming from industries, automobiles, burning of fossil fuels, and agricultural waste. No? So this type of pollution can bring harmful global effects such as climate change and in human health. Now, the first cause of air pollution are pollutants from industries. So most pollutants shown are from the industrial chimneys, no, and powerhouses, post fertilizer, manufacturing plants which releases fluorine compounds, and other chemical industries. One of the contributory factors that are considered as the most significant contributor to air pollution class is said to be automobiles. Okay, do you have automobiles class? So class, according to research, automobiles release about two-thirds of the carbon monoxide and one-half of the hydrocarbons and nitrous oxide. The combustion process occurring in automobiles also produces lead compounds which are found to bring harmful effects on living organisms. It was also found out that the atmosphere, no, in urban areas contain benzene, toluene, no, and xylene, which are the three volatile organic compounds, no, mainly because of the usage of petrol and diesel in automobiles. Unfortunately, benzene is known to have strong correlations with cancer. So, diesel and petroleum came from the combustion of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels, considering their potential to produce electricity using coal, is essential. However, power plants producing electricity has been found to produce two-thirds of sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere. Now, why is sulfur dioxide harmful? No, nga nang makadaot man ng sulfur dioxide. It is because these are pollutants are linked to acid rain, which destroy buildings and establishments in cities. So, acid rain is caused by a chemical reaction that begins with compounds like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides are released into the air. No, these substances can rise very high into the atmosphere where they mix and react with water, oxygen, and other chemicals to form for acidic pollutants known as acid rain. So acid rain class can also create tiny particles. So when these particles get into people's lungs, they can cause health problems, no, or can make existing health problems worse. It can be extremely harmful to forest as well. Acid rain that seeps in the ground can dissolve nutrients such as magnesium and calcium. The trees need to be healthy. Lastly, class, acid rain can also have a damaging effect on many objects, no, including buildings, monuments, and cars. So the chemicals found in acid rain can cause paint to peel and stone status not to begin to appear old and worn down, which reduces their value. Agriculture activities are associated with burning of forest areas and grasslands not to provide pastures and croplands for production. So this activity alone can produce 60 to 65% of carbon dioxide. So methane is also produced from biomass burning, paddy fields, and guts of livestock. So application of crop sprays and dusting for pest and weed control has been found to release organic phosphates, chlorinated hydrocarbons, arsenic, and lead into the air, thereby causing pollution to occur. So according to research, one of the effects of air pollution includes the atmosphere's capability to reduce solar radiation by 15 to 20% due to the presence of particulate matter. So air pollution um, can also cause photochemical smog that usually occurs in urban areas. So, photochemical smog depends on primary pollutants as well as the formation of secondary pollutants. So, these primary pollutants include nitrogen oxides, particularly nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide, and volatile organic compounds. So now, nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide can also react with the hydrocarbons instead of ozone to form other volatile compounds no, known as or pyrocyathyl nitrate. The accumulation of ozone and volatile organic compounds along with the energy from the sun forms the brown photochemical smog seen on hot sunny days. It also tends to occur more often in summer because that is when we have the most sunlight. Now, another effect of air pollution is the greenhouse effect. I know you're familiar with this greenhouse effect, no? It is a natural phenomenon. However, the enhanced greenhouse effect occurs due to elevated air pollutants. So, for instance, carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas is introduced in the atmosphere due to the burning of fossil fuels and furnace. So air pollutants like carbon dioxide are exclusively confined in the troposphere. So the condensed concentration of pollutant in the troposphere can be dangerous. So this particular situation, when there is an elevated level of air pollutants in the atmosphere like carbon dioxide, can lead to global warming. So naturally, the temperature of the Earth's surface is regulated by two factors. The heat entering, First, the heat entering and the heat that is radiated back outside the atmosphere, as shown in the picture. When heat enters the atmosphere, carbon dioxide molecules tend to absorb it, eventually creating another layer of extra warmth. Furthermore, an increase in temperature is known to melt ice caps in polar regions, finally, resulting in sea level rise. So throughout the centuries, human activities have been prevalent to attain economic growth. Unfortunately, these activities have resulted in considerable length of soil pollution worldwide. So now, what is soil pollution? So, when we say soil pollution, it refers to the presence of pollutants or contaminants in soil in high enough concentration to pose a risk to human health and the environment. So, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization or FAO, soil pollution is the alteration of soil properties due to the presence of substances at a higher concentration than the average level in which it brings detrimental effects. So, soil pollutants are the majority of anthropogenic origin. Still, some naturally exist in soil as components of rocks and minerals in which can be toxic at elevated level of concentration. So the major contributor to soil pollution has been observed to be chemicals or substances, no, released as water or byproducts of domestic, industrial, and municipal waste, including chemicals, wastewater, and petrol-derived products. So one cause of soil pollution are mining activities such as metal smelting, which have been contributing many pollutants into the soil. The types of machinery used are also capable of releasing a significant amount of heavy metals and many other toxic substances, no? Detrimental to the environment. Remember that heavy metals are dangerous because of their cytotoxicity. It can inhibit many physiological processes in the plant such as photosynthetic activity and even cancer on humans. Now, in terms of waste generation, as human population increases, class, the number of wastes produced increases as well, right? So this fact is cannot be denied, di ba? So considering the rise in population growth in the developing and least developed countries with increasing waste generation and lack of proper implementation of solid waste management at the municipal level, it creates a severe problem. So, agricultural activities, on the other hand, also contribute to soil pollution. Sources of soil pollutants coming from agriculture include agrochemical sources like pesticides, livestock manure, and fertilizers applied. No? So, metals that can be found in agrochemical sources, including copper, cadmium, lead, and mercury, inhibit the physiological process, no, in plants like the reduction of photosynthetic activity and eventually decrease crop production productivity. And then excessive application of fertilizers that releases nitrates and phosphates are not just considered as soil pollutants, but is also possess a threat indirectly to the health of the environment and humans as well as food security. So there are accidental cases where these wastes are released in the environment, no? Such as oil spills or landfill leaching, or even intentional cases like the improper application of pesticides, fertilizers, and untreated irrigated water. So the effects of soil pollution includes negatively impacting ecosystem services, no, from agricultural activities, acidification and crop loss, and human health risks. So soil pollution can have a number of harmful effects on ecosystem and human, plants, and animal health. Soil pollution ultimately impacts ecosystem services such as natural resources, specifically soil and groundwater bodies, crop productivity, and living organisms, including humans. So, agricultural waste that are released into the environment poses a severe threat to the environment. The harmful effects, no, of soil pollution may come from direct contact with polluted soil or from contact with another resources such as water or food which has been grown on or come in direct contact with the polluted soil. Such cases, no, has been discovered to affect vast areas of land by contaminating it. No? Then, another effect of soil pollution are soil acidification and crop loss. So the improper application of fertilizers, especially those containing phosphorus and nitrogen, can lead to acidification and crop loss. Acidification is a factor that may contribute to further soil pollution by mobilizing heavy toxic metals. So for example, class, if the currently available nitrogen in the soil surpasses the required level of N, in the plants, nitrification, which is a microbial activity, can lead to nitrate accumulation that has the potential to penetrate groundwater, polluting it, no? So the elevated amount of phosphorus also contributes to an increase in the algal population, leading to eutrophication as discussed in the previous chapter, right? And aside from the aforementioned effects, um, soil pollution is also deemed hazardous to human health. Long-term impacts of soil pollution are still vague, no? However, efforts through more research are still in progress to better understand the impacts of toxic pollutants on human health. So soil does not need to be highly contaminated to be harmful to humans. It may still harm humans directly through bioaccumulation or the gradual accumulation of substances in the soil. Now, for this lesson, we are going to tackle solid and hazardous waste, no? As well as the Republic Act number 9003 or the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000 and the Republic Act number 6969 or the Toxic Substances and Hazardous and Nuclear Waste Control Act of 99, 1990, no? So first, let us focus on solid waste. Solid waste can be from different sources, no, such as residential, industrial, commercial, institutional, commercial and demolition, municipal services, processes, and agricultural services. So as defined by Republic Act or RA 9002, no, other known as Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000, solid waste shall refer to all discarded household, commercial waste, non-hazardous institutional and industrial waste, street sweepings, construction debris, agricultural waste, and other non-hazardous or non-toxic solid waste. So this act was aimed to provide the necessary policy framework, institutional mechanisms, and mandate to the local government units to achieve 25% waste reduction through establishing an integrated solid waste management plans based on 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycling, no? For a better solid waste management. Unless expressly noted otherwise, the term solid waste as used in RE 9030 shall not include: first, waste identified or listed as a hazardous waste of solid, liquid, contained gaseous or semi-solid form which may cause or contribute to an increase in mortality or in severe or incapacitating reversible illness or acute or chronic effect on the health of persons and other organisms. Second, infectious waste from hospitals such as equipment, instruments, utensils, and fomites of disposable nature from patients who are suspected of having or have been diagnosed as having infectious diseases and must therefore be isolated as required by public health agencies Laboratory waste, no, such as pathological specimens, example all tissues, samples of blood elements, no, excreta, and secretions obtained from patients or laboratory animals. And disposable fomites that may harbor or transmit pathogenic organisms, and surgical operating room pathological specimens and disposable fomites attendant to that, and similar disposable materials from outpatients areas and emergency rooms. And lastly, solid waste shall not include waste resulting from mining activities, including contaminated soil and debris. So now, in relation to solid waste management, shown in this table are the sources, typical waste generators, and types of solid waste from What a Waste, no? Solid Waste Management in Asia by Daniel Hornweg with Laura Thomas in 1999. Now let us proceed to hazardous waste, no? As defined by RA 6969, otherwise known as Toxic Substances and Hazardous and Nuclear Waste Control Act of 1990. Hazardous waste are substances that are without any safe commercial, industrial, agricultural, or economic usage and are shipped, transported, or brought from the country or region from dumping or disposal into or in transit through a part of the territory of the Philippines. Additionally, it is also defined as byproducts, side products, process residues, no? Spent reaction media, contaminated plant or equipment or other substances from manufacturing operations, and as consumer discards of manufactured products which present unreasonable risk or injury to health and safety and to the environment. So generally, hazardous wastes are fatal to the environment and human health. It includes toxic chemicals and substances that may be flammable or radioactive. It includes industrial waste coming from sources like chemical plants or nuclear reactors. Waste coming from agricultural activities like pesticide and fertilizers, residues, no, from medical, hospital facilities, and debris from toxic paints and solvents. But for this discussion, we can simply define hazardous waste as any solid, liquid, or gas that brings a detrimental effect on human health and the environment, and is characterized as non-degradable. This waste includes those toxic chemicals and substances that may be flammable or radioactive. No, it includes industrial waste coming from sources like chemical plants or nuclear reactors, waste coming from agricultural activities like pesticide and fertilizers, residues, no, from medical, hospitals, facilities, and debris from toxic paints and um, solvents. So, based on estimations, about 400 million metric tons of hazardous waste generally are generated annually. No, any form of dealing with hazardous waste, such as utilizing, storing, transporting, and disposing of threatens the environment and human health. It poses a severe threat to humans, as even light exposure can cause serious illness such as cancer, congenital disabilities, and the worst extent, no, is death. So, a portion of hazardous waste are generated by developing countries for they have used more hazardous waste for production and consumption, no? We have the chemicals and materials than in developed countries. So hazardous waste is difficult to manage everywhere, but less developed countries face a unique set of additional problems, including lack of advanced waste management technologies, no, as well as acute economic and related difficulties that make hazardous waste management a low priority. And another source of hazardous waste are industries. So, most industries in developing countries use outdated and banned technologies that operate poorly and produce hazardous waste. So, as the case in developed countries, no, industry is a major source of hazardous waste. In less developed countries, notably, multinational companies often shift their plants, no, to less developed countries and use technology banned in their home countries. So other sources of hazardous waste include transporters and disposal facilities, which face less strict management standards than in the developed world, no? As well as scavengers who reclaim and recycle waste that are hazardous or contaminated with hazardous waste. Specifically, no, people are concerned about hazardous waste that are radioactive coming from industries that create nuclear power and weapons. Even now, there is still no known method of safe and permanent disposal. The most way that is implied in dealing with this type of waste is usually by keeping it in store facilities located at the same sites they were generated. Okay? So, next meeting, we will discuss Module 5. We're done with Module 4.